Welcome to Viewing and Reviewing, where I pull older movies off the shelf, watch them, and let you know if I believe that they're worth your time or not. I'm Bobby T, your online video store clerk, and I'll be searching through my VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray collection to find titles that I think may be interesting to review. Today's episode is a special request by YouTube user By State Channel, so I will be reviewing 1984's The Bounty, directed by Roger Donaldson and starring Mel Gibson, Anthony Hopkins, Daniel Day-Lewis, and Liam Neeson. Let me read you the DVD cover. Oscar winners Anthony Hopkins and Mel Gibson lead a stellar cast that includes Sir Lawrence Olivier, Daniel Day-Lewis, and Liam Neeson in this action-packed adventure bursting with sensational battles, raging storms, and an intensity as powerful as the mighty sea itself. Bristling with commanding performances, blazing dialogue, and superb action scenes, says the Los Angeles Times, this spectacular movie, according to New York Magazine, is everything a high-adventure fan could want, according to Variety. Hopkins delivers a brilliant portrayal, according to Boxoffice magazine, as William Bligh, a real-life sea captain who, in 1787, steered the Bounty on a 27,000-mile voyage into danger, chaos, and madness. After 31 days of battling severe sea squalls and Bligh's ever-increasing cruelty, the weary crew is relieved to finally land on a remote island. But soon, after their tyrannical captain wants to sail again and the desperate men turn to first mate Fletcher Christian, Gibson, to help them take the ship by force or die trying. Now this was a surprise. I'd watched this film when it first came out on VHS in the mid-80s and promptly forgot about it, which is a shame. This film is actually quite good. Cast is first-rate. Atmospherically, it felt like the era they were portraying. On board, the Bounty ship felt exactly like you'd expect claustrophobic, dirty, and full of mischief and pent-up frustration under the iron-fisted rule of a megamaniacal captain. I mean, I know the mutiny on the Bounty has been made and remade countless times, but I do believe this was the one that got it most right. Anthony Hopkins is pitch perfect as the borderline certifiably insane Captain Bligh, who incidentally is a lieutenant when the film starts, so that was kind of strange. But we can see how this upright, morally superior, and ultimately unbendable officer can't see past the sight of his own ambition to realize his crew has been lost to him. Mel Gibson, who at this time was just starting to make a name for himself in Hollywood as the charismatic, handsome leading man, well before he broke out in Lethal Weapon, he was well cast as the first mate, Mr. Christian, although he also starts at a lower commission prior to the start of the voyage, which does seem odd. As the voyage progresses and ultimately, once they reach Tahiti, you can see Mr. Christian and most of the rest of the crew abandon their goals and pretense and instead fully embrace the laid-back, libidinous enchantment of the Tahitian island and its lovely, topless native women. Yes, this film is R-rated. Not because of any gory battle sequences or even any cuss words, since there pretty much aren't any. It's because throughout the entire second half of the movie, every female in the film is naked from the waist up. But before anyone gets too much of in an uproar, this is more National Geographic native nudity than Playboy's nudity. I believe the filmmakers here made the right decision that earlier versions of the same film were unable to do due to censorship to show why the crew abandoned their posts and ultimately decided to mutiny to return to this magical island where they knew no rigid British naval rule, where they were revered as visitors in a strange land that offered all their enticements that had turned any man's head, especially those that hated their captain and gave him a glimpse of paradise on earth. Once a mutiny happens, there's very little reason to doubt the crew and their purpose, whether it's right or wrong. But also, what's so remarkable about this film is how accurate it seems to be to the source material, and yet still remains entertaining through most of it. Yeah, it can drag at times, and even at a little over 2 hours, like 2 hours 15 minutes, it felt a bit overlong. But the filmmakers packed the most important pieces in the narrative through creative editing and time-lapse to keep the audience engaged throughout the 2-year voyage that we, thankfully, only briefly experienced. So, my overall report card of the film, it looks like this. Does it stand the test of time? Yeah, this is an A. It's a period piece that stays true to the source material. In comparison to the previous incarnations of this story, I've seen a couple of them, I'd say without hesitation, this is the best of the bunch. The story. Well, the fact that this film has been made and remade over 5 times, I'd say this is got to be an A, but it really deserves maybe a B+. Not because it's a bad story, it's just that it's fairly dry. We see them put the ship to sea. They all sail around the Horn. They have anger issues all along the way. They reach Tahiti where they basically sit around doing nothing but having sex. They board the ship again against their will and sail away. The mutiny happens. Then we watch both sides sail off in different directions to their own ends. And it's decent. It just seems like I'm reading a history book instead of being entertained on the big screen. And that's all. It's not bad. That's just all. The cast. Wow, great cast. This is an A. Everyone seems to fit their roles perfectly. Hopkins always plays these anal retentive asses to perfection. Gibson is his charmingly handsome self. Daniel Day-Lewis seems slightly odd as the put-upon original first mate, but he does alright. Liam Neeson as the deranged sailor that always seems to stir the pot, because every ship, then and today, has those very real characters. Everyone was excellent, with maybe the pointless exception of casting Sir Lawrence Olivier as the admiral at the inquest, who got third billing on the film, yet he was only in the film for 5 minutes. But that aside, even the Tahitian actors did a fantastic job. I actually felt for the chief and his daughter that they had a genuinely heartbreaking moment when they were torn apart by Christian's selfish act. The acting made the story even better. The cinematography, easy A+. This is one of those films that really couldn't do any wrong. You have a British 18th century warship sailing through the Caribbean and into the gloriously underrated Tahiti island filled with half-naked natives boarding the ship for all kinds of mischief. I mean, what isn't there to love? I mean, seriously, the cinematography was classic naval seascapes at sunrise and sunset. It was flawless, which is a better word right here. The music. Now, this is probably their only misstep in my opinion. I'll give it a B for effort, but I'm not sure the music was fitting for this type of film. It's not bad by any stretch. It kind of reminds me of my Lady Hawk review on this channel, which if you go find the review, it was composed by Vangelis, whom I dearly love from Chariots of Fire lore. But it just seemed a bit kind of modern, I guess would be the word. The 1924 Olympics are one thing, since they're roughly the same century in Chariots of Fire, but on an 18th century naval quasi-adventure isn't really my idea of synth city. A Philharmonic orchestra might have been the better choice for this classic tale. So, based on the above scores, I'm going to give this film a B+. It's a good film, but you have to know what you're getting into. This is not Errol Flynn's swashbuckling adventures on the high sea with pirates, swords, and cannons blazing. This is a much quieter, more authentic sailor's film that was closer to historical than adventurous. It's a thoughtful film about egos, desires, and clashes of will in close quarters where military rank sometimes gets in the way of doing the right thing. If you're expecting Pirates of the Caribbean craziness and action, you will be sorely disappointed. If you're expecting a true story that sticks close to the source material and know what you're getting into with this film, you will very much enjoy the movie. So, here are a few other recommendations of films along the same line. Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World. Now, this is an authentic feeling nautical tale of the same historical era. Russell Crowe is excellent as the captain of a ship full of real-looking sailors that must overcome all kinds of hardships on their vessel. Filmmakers went to great pains to make sure the actors only used materials found on the two ships themselves for ammunition, rations, repairs, whatever, no outside influences, which made it feel that much more authentic. Historians went to great pains to praise this film when it came out for an accurate portrayal of life on the open sea, and it shows on screen. Plus, it's a fairly exciting movie to boot. Alright, since The Bounty is a remake, and the best of the bunch of them, in my opinion, I'll have to say the second best version of the story is 1935's Mutiny on the Bounty. Skip the 1962 version with a terribly overacted Marlon Brando. The 1935 version has Charles Laughton playing the all-important diabolical role of Captain Bligh, and he does a bang-up job. Now, when Looney Tunes cartoons spoofs your film with Bugs Bunny playing the lead character, complete with bulbous lips and Hitchcockian breathy delivery, you know something's going to be entertaining. And lastly, Mr. Roberts. I know this is a film about World War II, but the stories are eerily similar. Plus, this is a Broadway play turned comedy worth watching, which you can't say very often about war pictures. James Cagney plays a self-centered captain on this landlocked frigate who has his thumb on his XO, played by the perfectly cast Henry Fonda, whose job it is to balance the captain's increasingly stupid orders and his demoralized crew who all just want to go on shore leave to visit the pretty nurses at the nearby base hospital they can see through their telescopes. Plus, Jack Lemmon won an Oscar as the ADHD crazy Ensign Pulver, who's been on the tiny ship for over a year and still has never met the captain. It's high sea lunacy without much high sea action, and it's much recommended. Well, that's it for The Bounty. Thank you again, Bay State Channel, for the recommendation. Hope it was worth your time. Anyway, if you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click the like button below. If you want to keep up to date on my future reviews, please click on the subscribe button below. If you want to purchase The Bounty on DVD, or if you wish to purchase any of the other titles I mentioned earlier, please follow the Amazon links below. If you have any suggestions for movies you'd like me to review, such as how Bay State Channel recommended this one, I'll see what I can do. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, be sure to help others in need, because it's always the right thing to do. Have a great week.